everyone, I am Mecha42, your favorite YouTube harpy, and I just watched Unicorn Store. We watched it together. Oh, Lord. Oh, this movie was so confusing. I don't know if I can give you any spoilers, really, because the movie kind of plays out. If you've seen the trailer, you pretty much know everything that's going to happen in this movie up until the very, very end, which I'm not going to ruin for you for the very, very end. But as you know, the movie Unicorn Store stars Brie Larson as kind of this failure to launch sort of grown woman child, millennial kid who still lives at home with her parents, is kind of overly coddled, socially awkward, but she decides to, I guess, get out and get a job and stuff. While all this is going on, Samuel L. Jackson has this unicorn store, but it's like magic and nobody can see it unless they believe in it. He finds ways to send her letters, like to her job or to her house, hey, come to my shop. And so his shop is giving away a unicorn to somebody who proves themselves worthy of it, right? And I guess they do this throughout time, through a lot of different women or people who are worthy of unicorns. So he convinces Brie Larson's character Kit to get her house ready for this unicorn. She figures out, she goes to a hardware store to get supplies to build a barn or something, and doesn't even have measurements. It comes across, this whole movie really comes across as very childish in her lack of. And I think it's unintentional. I think a lot of it is intentional. She's intentionally supposed to be somebody who doesn't think a couple of steps ahead, somebody who doesn't understand the consequences for their actions, or doesn't understand, yes, I'm going to do that. And they don't understand how many steps and planning and things that they actually need to do the thing. So that's part of the confusion of this movie, because it is at the same time very childish and very childlike in a very grown-up way, but at the same time in a very juvenile way. The movie comes across as being written by somebody very, very juvenile, very young, very, like a 6-year-old telling you a story, and there's even a line that Brie Larson, she's talking to Samuel L. Jackson, and they're talking about what they need for the unicorn. There's this big shop that he has. And she's like, I don't have time for this. I'm a business lady. Like a 6-year-old would say. The I'm a business lady line. Just all these very, very childish things. And I think that's intentional. I think the character's supposed to come across as very young and naive. But she comes across as so childish in a lot of ways that it's kind of hard to give sympathy to the character, because you're like, oh, no. Sweetie, no, let's not do this. You are not ready to take care of a unicorn if you don't even realize that you have to, plan out and measure how much, you have to kind of have some sort of estimate of how much wood you need for a barn. And this movie is filled with those little, what the crap moments. Samuel L. Jackson has a line. He's basically playing, a very flamboyant shop owner for a unicorn store, because why wouldn't you be flamboyant? He's kind of playing a little toned down version of Hollywood from Mannequin. Very, very, I guess you would, stereotypically, they would be the gay salesman sort of character. That's kind of how he's playing it. He's playing very flamboyant, very, he's wearing a hot pink suit. He's got a line. He says, you could squeeze the shit out of him. Talking about the unicorn, he's telling her, yeah, you can hug him, you can pet him, you can squeeze the shit out of him, and he uses that line. There's a lot of weird uses of language in this movie here and there, and it's the word shit a couple of times that it's just kind of, it's such a childish movie. You're kind of taken aback by it a little bit, did they just swear? Because it's kind of like you're watching a movie that is intended for children, but not, because it has these weird, odd swearing moments in it, and it has these weird, odd, sort of, grown-up moments. She's working as a temp in her day job. Sorry, I have to have the window open. It's 1,000,000 degrees, so hopefully the car noises aren't too bad. But she's a temp, and she's wearing her mom's suit. for like most of it, until she starts getting a little more whimsy and magic in her life, which I think is the theme of the movie. That you have whimsy and magic, that, you know, don't forget to have some whimsy and have some fun and magic in your life. They take it way too literally and over the top. Excuse me. And it kind of it's confusing. You know, there's a huge thing. They have to figure out how to sell vacuum cleaners, and she decides to just put glitter all over everything. She's a failed art student. Excuse me. So she has this moment of whimsy where, because she's a failed art student, for like painting outside lines and putting glitter everywhere instead of just, you know, painting on her given designated canvas. She gets the idea to do that onto these vacuum cleaners that she's trying to sell, even though she's just a temp. And she has a lot of very strange, odd, unsettling, kind of unnerving interactions with coworkers. There's a lot of weird lines in this, too. Samuel L. Jackson hands her a unicorn horn and says, you know, here, it's pink and full of love or something. And she's like, and it's so heavy, too. There's so many innuendos, you know. Oh, yeah, he's the first person to put a stick in a box. Being the most revolutionary thing. Brie Larson has that line somewhere in this movie. There's all these weird innuendos. There's all these weird things. But she has this moment where she's like in a boardroom meeting because she's a temp and would be allowed to do that. She's wearing basically this giant fringy, sort of carpeted thing. It looks like a lampshade. It's like bright green and lampshade, and they're spitting glitter everywhere. Just this, just the glitter bukkake all over the place of you know, according to in chat, Larry Bernard over from the Woke Report put that in our super chat, and that's a perfect word for it. Glitter bukkake all over the place in this boardroom and doing this dance presentation. Oh, we need magic vacuums. It's a vac pack. You can stick the vacuum on your back, and you know, you're gonna have hot women coming dancing all over the place. And one of the board members is like, you know what? I just realized I hate rainbows. You know, there's all these little weird moments. There's a moment in this movie where basically they're trying to tell her, hey, the world doesn't revolve around you. But it's like she's complaining that somebody told her the world doesn't revolve around her and is arguing that it does. Like, that's coming across as the point of the movie in some places. That, you know, somebody said, hey, the world doesn't revolve around you. She's like, oh yeah, guess what? It does. And you know, she's probably right, because here we are watching this crazy movie that I'm having a hard time processing. There's so many weird, cringy moments. You almost have to check this out for yourself. It's very dull, though. It is very dull. It's kind of like the holiday special, like the Star Wars holiday special, or The Room, or Birdemic. It's one of those movies that's really dull and boring, but kind of so insane and batshit crazy in places that you almost have to see it to believe it. You know, there's one scene where, you know, Brie Larson's character Kit had been had gone to the hardware store to try and build, to get wood for the stable for the unicorn, for the house for him. Has no measurements, no idea how much she needs. They send her off to Virgil, who becomes her kind of love interest, this boyfriend. And there's a scene where the camera is following her like she's a stalker, and it's kind of hypnotic and dizzying, and she gives these big creepy eyes that pop up out from in between stuff at you. It is fascinating. And I'm sitting there during the live stream saying, oh, look, it's succubus Brie following us, stalking us, hypnotizing us into talking about her, because it's that weird and creepy of a scene. And this movie's kind of full of that. And I'm not even kidding. It's so crazy. So she throws a big temper tantrum towards the end, and ends up with the third act breakup thing with her little love interest or whatever. And then she ends up throwing out all of her unicorn supplies and things, only to have him dig it all out of the trash. And, you know, then he's like, yeah, see, I'm going to believe you about your unicorn. I'm going to actually believe you now. And here is all the stuff that you made for the unicorn. And they set up the house for it. And, well, if you want to see, I don't know, if you want the spoiler, you know, listen. But if you don't want the spoiler, close your ears if you want to know whether there's a unicorn or not. So full spoiler. This is the only big spoiler in the movie. This is close to the end of the video here. She actually ends up getting a unicorn after that. You know, Samuel L. Jackson calls and he's like, yes, I got your unicorn for you. I got your unicorn. But some other woman wants it. Also, thank you for subscribing. So, some other woman wants it if you don't want, So if you don't want it, I'm gonna give it to her. So she has to go and actually she goes down, talks to the unicorn, sees the unicorn, pets him, hugs him, tells him, you were my imaginary friend, and you were this to me when I was a kid, and we played this game, and I love you, and blah blah blah. And I'll go on to somebody else. I can see the sentiment in the movie, right? I can see the sentiment. I can see what she was trying to do. But it really came across as a bad way of saying you need to grow up. Because at the same time it said you need to grow up, it's also saying you don't need to grow up. So what's the point of the story, you know? So I need to grow up and move on from the childish things and appreciate them for what they were. But you also have to learn to accept it into your life and go with the whimsy. What's the point here? What's the message? I don't know. I don't get it. It's kind of very conflicting in a lot of ways. Also, I guess the whole point of the unicorn was that she needed somebody to love her forever and ever, but then she replaced that love with the boyfriend that she let into her life or something. This movie is weird, so I'd have to give it about a 4 out of 10 just because it's kind of dull, but it is one of those things that is so odd and batshit that you kind of have to watch just to get the full crazy of it. Just Samuel L. Jackson's performance alone is so over the top. Brie comes off as very bitchy, childish, childlike, irresponsible, not super likable. You don't have a lot of sympathy for her in the film. You can't really relate to her because she's so weird and odd. Like, I could never relate to a character like that. I don't know. I'm probably not the right target demographic of the movie, though. I'm not a 12-year-old white girl or something. I don't know. So my opinion doesn't matter. Did you guys see Unicorn Store? What did you think? Oh, man. Tell me what you thought of it in the comment section below. I am Mega Random 42. P.O. Box 1566, Loveland, Colorado 80539. I will see you guys on the next video or live stream. Bye! Thanks for watching. If you liked it, make sure to hit that like button. And if you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video. Bye!